What if I told you that Donald Trump's biggest trade war move just backfired in a way no one saw coming? What if I told you that instead of isolating Canada and Mexico, Trump may have actually pushed them closer together, leaving the United States on the outside looking in? Does that sound far-fetched? Then why are Canadian tourists skipping Florida beaches for Cancun resorts? Why are Canadian officials talking about long-term partnerships with Mexico that cut the US out of the equation? And why is the so-called art of the deal turning into the art of losing allies? Stay with me, because what's happening right now is not just a trade story, it's a tectonic geopolitical shift that could permanently change the balance of power in North America. Before we get deeper into this breaking story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss these kinds of sharp, confirmed updates that cut through the noise. Because by the time this video ends, you'll see why this Canada-Mexico alliance is making Wall Street nervous, why Ottawa is walking away from Washington's shadow, and why Trump's tariffs have created the very nightmare he was trying to prevent. So let's start at the heart of the matter. Trump thought he could corner Canada with higher tariffs, tighter deadlines, and public humiliation. He slapped a 35% tariff on Canadian goods not covered by USMCA and gave Mexico 90 days to cave. Canada got no such reprieve. He set an August 1st deadline as if Canada and Mexico were contestants on a game show, waiting for his prize or punishment. But here's what Trump didn't see coming: neither country begged for a deal. Mexico didn't sign. Canada didn't fold. And Trump walked away empty-handed. What does that tell you? It tells you that Trump's my way or the highway strategy just built a highway that goes around him entirely. And here's where things get even more fascinating. While Trump was bragging about winning on Truth Social, Canada and Mexico were quietly shaking hands behind closed doors. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney met with Mexican officials to discuss joint trade diversification, stronger market ties, and a long-term North American strategy that didn't depend on US approval. This wasn't a reactionary meeting. It was the start of something bigger, a coordinated effort to build resilience against Washington's unpredictable policies. Now, let's pause for a second. Have you ever wondered what happens when an ally realizes they don't need you as much as you think? What happens when years of trust erode and partnerships start looking like liabilities? That's what's unfolding right now. Canada, long seen as America's most loyal neighbor, is saying enough. Enough of the tariffs, the insults, the threats, the idea that friendship means subservience. And Mexico, which has also been battered by the same economic pressure, is more than ready to collaborate. Together, these two nations are discovering something powerful: they can thrive without Washington's permission. But how did we get here? Let's rewind to the moment Trump raised tariffs by 16 percentage points overnight with no warning, no plan, and no strategy beyond political theater. Businesses froze hiring, supply chains cracked, and small companies stopped expanding because they couldn't predict what would happen next week, let alone next year. The job market stalled not because of outsiders, but because of decisions made in the Oval Office. Investors don't like chaos. Manufacturers don't like uncertainty. And what Trump called a bold move to protect America became, in practice, economic arson. It burned trust, and now the flames are reaching Washington itself. When Canada retaliated with its own tariffs, it wasn't just an economic response, it was a statement of dignity. It told the world that Canada would not be bullied into submission. For decades, Canadians looked south for trade security. Now they are looking across, and they are looking ahead. Mark Carney summed it up perfectly when he said, "We will build in a Canadian way, sustainably, positively, and together." Notice what's missing there. Fear. Carney's calm, strategic approach is the opposite of Trump's loud, erratic style, and investors are noticing. Global markets are noticing. And Trump, whether he admits it or not, is noticing. But this isn't just about politicians making speeches. The shift is visible in something as simple as where people are vacationing. Canadians who once filled Florida beaches and Las Vegas casinos are heading to Mexico in record numbers. And this isn't just about cheaper flights or favorable exchange rates, it's about perception. Canadians are tired of border hostility, longer visa delays, and rhetoric that paints allies as enemies. Mexico offers affordability, warmth, and a welcome mat instead of a wall. Every Canadian passport stamped in Mexico is a quiet vote for change, a small but symbolic rejection of the direction Washington has taken. And here's a question for you: if tourism patterns start aligning with foreign policy shifts, what does that tell you about the depth of this realignment? People don't just follow politics, they follow how those policies affect their lives. When average citizens start making different choices, it's a sign of permanent change, not a passing trend. Now, let's talk about something even more alarming for Washington: the optics of control. Trump's decision to fire the Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner Erica McIntyre after she signed off on a downward jobs revision wasn't just rash, it was reckless. Think about this for a second. When leaders fire experts for telling the truth, what does that do to credibility? What does it do to democracy? It sends one chilling message: obey or be removed. And when accuracy becomes optional and loyalty becomes mandatory, the economy suffers because markets rely on trust. Imagine trying to invest when inflation numbers, unemployment rates, and growth figures are filtered through political loyalty. That's not stability, that's a mirage. And mirages vanish fast. Meanwhile, Canada and Mexico are using transparent data and long-term strategies to guide their next steps. They are not afraid of facts. They are not afraid of telling the public what's real, even when the news is tough. That's why their economies are gaining resilience while Trump's America looks more volatile by the day. You can shout America first all you want, but when the numbers don't add up, investors take their money elsewhere. So where does this leave the US? Is it still the indispensable leader of North America, or is it now the unpredictable neighbor everyone's learning to work around? When Canada and Mexico start building a new trade framework that excludes Washington, when tourism dollars start shifting south, when investors start betting on stability elsewhere, the writing on the wall becomes impossible to ignore. And here's where the story circles back to its most ironic twist: Trump's obsession with winning has created exactly what he feared: a united front that doesn't include him. By trying to dictate terms to Canada and Mexico, he gave them a common cause to unite against his tactics. The same tariffs that were supposed to strengthen America's hand have weakened it. Instead of making the US the hub of North American trade, Trump's policies have created two spokes that no longer need the center. Ask yourself this: what happens if Canada and Mexico decide to formalize their partnership even further? What if they start opening new trade routes with Europe and Asia together? What if tourism, manufacturing, and energy ties deepen to the point where US leverage shrinks to almost nothing? This isn't just hypothetical. Meetings are already happening. Agreements are already being drafted. The momentum is real, and Washington's influence is slowly slipping. By the end of this decade, North America could look very different. The US will still be a major player, but not the only one setting the rules. Canada and Mexico are proving that collaboration can win, that steady leadership outlasts loud slogans, and that respect is more powerful than coercion. And here's the biggest takeaway: this isn't a temporary spat. This is the beginning of a new era where allies don't just obey, they choose their own paths. So what do you think? Is Trump's trade war the catalyst that permanently changed North America's alliances? Can the US rebuild trust after this, or has the damage already gone too far? And would you personally choose to vacation in Mexico over the US if the welcome felt warmer and the experience felt freer? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to hear where you stand. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of global politics, trade, and the economic shifts shaping our future. Share this video with someone who still thinks tariffs are harmless, or that Canada and Mexico will always follow Washington's lead. Because as we just saw, the world is changing fast, and those who underestimate it risk getting left behind.